With Will on 531 PI.
Talanoa, welcome back to Pacific Mornings on 531 PI. William Terite with you. It is just gone 7:36 for Monday, the 1st of September. Now let's shift our attention to Sāmoa, where preliminary results from its general election indicate perhaps a victory for the Fast Party, with HRPP trailing behind along with the SUP as well. PMN News senior journalist Renate Rivers is following every twist and turn of this dramatic election. She joins us now live from Sāmoa. Talanoa to you. Before we even get into that, how are you doing after what was perhaps a mind-numbing weekend?
I think that pretty much sums it up. It's just a lot of just wondering what happened and trying to figure out the different scenarios and hearing the different leaders' takes on it. So, yeah, I think it's just slowly processing everything right now.
Indeed. And look, tell us the very latest in terms of, or get us up to speed with what's going on at the moment.
Sure. Okay. So basically, we're just resetting everything from what we've been talking about last week. The preliminary results have come out, and it puts Fast at a very, very high advantage at the moment. They're about 32 seats of a 51-seat House, so
wow.
They have a very big majority. The HRPP are currently at about 12 seats, and Fiame's party, the Sāmoa Uniting Party, is on 3, while independents are currently holding 4. Now, the reason why I'm a little bit vague about the numbers is because the actual preliminary count itself hasn't been finalized by the Office of the Electoral Commissioner.
Sure.
They had a few discrepancies with how the tally, because apparently this is what I was told was some of the polling officials had put the results, the physical results sheet inside the polling box, which is, as you know, sealed. So they weren't able to open it until, basically they're not able to open it until today. So we haven't been able to sort of nail down a firm number in terms of the preliminary seat counts.
Wow. Okay. Well, look,
yeah.
I mean, was this expected? I know we're talking off preliminary results and perhaps it's presumptuous to ask such questions, but were we expecting such a rise for Fast?
Not at all. I'll be very honest. I was very surprised. I knew that they would do well because they have been very, very strong with the campaigning. But I did not expect them to take such a huge number. And if we have a listen to just have a look at sort of the sentiment on the ground, well, especially with the HRPP supporters, they agree. They cannot believe it. Tuilepa himself has come out, and as well as their deputy leader, Fonotoi, and said that they just did not expect this to happen. They felt so prepared, but it is what it is at the end of the day. And as we've been talking about last week, it's the voters that decide in the end. So it's been a shock. Let's just put it that way.
And what do you think this suggests about the mood of the country? Of course, HRPP, led by former Prime Minister Tuilepa, and the SUP party, of course, under Fiame Naomi Mataafa, the caretaker Prime Minister. Does it perhaps show that, look, we want something fresh, we want something new? What do you think it suggests?
It's a bit, I sort of want to let the politicians get into this because there have been some allegations in terms of swaying the vote. I'll just put it that way. I do cover it a bit in my story, which will come out this morning, because there's direct quotes from Tuilepa himself and some of the HRPP MPs. So I don't know. It's a tricky one because I feel like, yes, there's been a lot of support for Fast, of course, but there's been a lot of support for SUP as well. And obviously this time around, the HRPP campaign was very different from 2021. So I don't think that the result necessarily is sort of reflective of the overall reality. Yeah, I'm skirting a little bit about that, but there's been some allegations, so that's something that will have to be heard in court.
Fascinating indeed. All right, look, what have we heard from the mouths of the three leaders? Have they come out and spoken?
Oh, yeah, definitely Lauli. He has now 3 times fronted up since Friday's general election. A couple of Facebook Lives from the Fast headquarters. As well as yesterday, they hosted a Thanksgiving service here in Apia Park. Everyone was invited, so it was a nationwide invitation, and obviously they streamed live overseas I will say that they had a lot of our diaspora communities in attendance there. There were probably about a third to close to half of the attendees, so it kind of indicates their support, right?
Yes. Okay.
So he was very vocal. He's been talking about, being the new prime minister and the next steps, and very much, it was very much like a sermon he was giving. So we have had nothing from Fiame, unfortunately, from our caretaker prime minister.
Mm-hmm.
There's been, obviously, I think everybody can see that they lost a lot of seats. Basically,
yes.
only 3 of them have come back according to the preliminary count. Nothing at all from their side. And then Tuila Epa and his crew haven't had a formal press conference or any kind of statement issued as well. But they did speak to some local media and over the weekend when they had a family event at their headquarters. And that's where they came out and said, this wasn't what we expected, but we will be looking at taking this further in court. And also there may still be changes based on the final count that begins today.
Look, how much of a blow do you think this, and again, I must stress preliminary results until we've got an official call, but how much of a blow will this be in the Tuilaipa and Fiame camps?
Oh, it's huge. Even if whatever the final count comes out to be and, changes the totals, the seat counts per party, I'd say just maybe a blow to the confidence. Because they were quite strong going in, as we discussed last week. HRPP were very, very confident. Fiame as well was, she was following their party line. So I'd say confidence-wise, it's been a blow because, if you're going into something thinking you're going to get maybe half the house and you only get 12 seats, that's a huge blow. Especially for Fiame as well and her party being the caretaker prime minister, caretaker government, and basically most of it, I'd say, what is that, 13 cabinet ministers gone, just like that. So, it's a huge blow, but at the same time, anything can happen with petitions and with the final count today.
And do you think, I want to play the game of hypotheticals for a second, what kind of leader could Lauli be for Sāmoa? Because there's been that criticism perhaps from some that he's not as experienced as the likes of Fiame and Tuilaipa.
Okay. Obviously I have seen him in action a few times over the years. He's a very inspiring leader. He can definitely, charm and make you feel like you're the only person in the room. He has that spirit about him. I think just based off of his campaign and the way he's been addressing the public over the last few months, and then also in the last few days, it's very much, as I mentioned before, was kind of like a sermonizing. I liken him to a preacher. So, he's very spiritual in the way that he speaks and reaches people. Of course, with that, my personal view is there is a danger there that the governance side and just the general workings of government and is sort of muddled in there somewhere. So that's just my own reflections on it. Of course, it's very difficult to really say anything because at the end of the day he still has to work with the public service, and many of these people have been there for years, so they know what they're doing. So the hope is that work will just continue as is. They'll just implement whatever it is that they have in their manifesto, still following the principles of good governance and the established norms within the public service itself. And maybe, just the overall spirit of fast is carried by himself personally. But that's just, it's funny because I don't want to say that he's like one of those evangelizing preachers, but sometimes it does come off a bit like that.
A bit like that, right?
But people really love it. So he's hitting his mark.
Okay. Well, look, with all of that in mind, then I suppose when can we expect official results? Is there any idea of that?
We're probably looking at a couple of days. I would say Wednesday myself. But, we thought that the preliminary count would be done on Friday, and even up to Sunday, they were still going through sorting out the special votes. So, and then we had the slight interruption from one of the FAST MPs who sort of showed up at the Electoral Commission and was asking where's the final. They need to start making count. So there's a lot of stuff going on the ground. But I would say probably maybe Tuesday or Wednesday at the earliest.
Okay. And with that in mind, you touched on it just briefly at the start of this little talanoa. The potential for this to get messy legally. I mean, is this? Are we risking perhaps that being apparent? I mean, what's your view? Could this get messy or ugly?
It's sort of part of the normal process, really. At the end of every election, well, ones that I've covered for the last since 2011. They always go back to court. There's always some kind of
fascinating
petition. So yeah, it is, because it definitely changes, how many people end up in government and sort of the House numbers. This one could probably be very ugly because of the stakes ahead of elections and the fact that there were three strong parties, three very strong personalities. So it's something we're not really used to in the modern era for Samoa's political scene. But yes, it could get very ugly, especially with the extremely strong support basis for each of the parties, especially with HRPP and FAST. They have very strong support basis. So, that's something new in this era of politics. So yes, short answer, William, yes, it can get very ugly.
This has quite simply been one of the most unpredictable elections I've ever come across. As a political nerd, I was not expecting these preliminary results, but I guess that's the strength of democracy in some ways. Well, thank you very much for all of your work. I'm really appreciating it. That is Renate Rivers, our PMN senior journalist there, covering the Samoa election for us, and we'll continue to have coverage right here at Pacific Mornings on 531 PI in the coming days once we've got, course, an official count, or just all across the drama as well. We'll also have full details and stories on our website, pmn.co.nz. Thank you very much for your time. You have a lovely rest of your day.
That is